Hey everyone, welcome back to another video by Upgrade. If you have just had a Java interview or are getting ready for one and feeling a bit nervous, don't worry. We are here to make things simple. Java is everywhere, from the shows you stream on Netflix to the products you buy on Amazon. It's a crucial part of many large-scale applications, which is why Java developers are always in demand. So take a deep breath, relax, and check out these top 50 Java interview questions to help you prepare and feel confident. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to never miss any update. So the first question is, what all does JVM comprise of? So when you're asked to explain the JVM in an interview, it's a good idea to break it down into its main components clearly and concisely. Here's how you can approach it. First, class loader. The class loader is a subsystem of the JVM responsible for loading class files. You can explain that it loads all the required classes into memory when the program starts running. Then there is heap. The heap is where objects are stored during the runtime of the program. It's the area of memory used for dynamic memory allocation where Java objects and their associated data are allocated. Then there is method area. The method area holds class level information such as static variables, constant pools, method data, and the code for methods. You should explain that it's part of the JVM's memory that stores per class structures. Then there is stack. The stack is used for storing method calls and local variables. Every time a method is called, a new frame is created on the stack to store variables and track the method's progress. Each method call pushes a new frame, and when the method finishes, the frame is popped off. Then there is execution engine. This is the component that reads and executes the bytecode of the Java program. You should highlight that the execution engine can either interpret the bytecode line by line or use the JIT, that is just-in-time compiler, to convert the bytecode into machine code for faster execution. After that, we have Java Native Interface or JNI. The JNI allows Java applications to interact with native applications or libraries written in other languages like C or C++. This is useful when Java needs to perform operations that depend on platform-specific features or external libraries. So when you answer, keep it structured and focus on giving a high-level overview of each component unless the interviewer asks for more detail. This shows you understand the architecture without going too deep unnecessarily. Alright? So this was about the first questions. Now let's move on to the second question, which is, what is object-oriented programming? Is Java an object-oriented language? So when you ask to explain object-oriented programming in an interview, you can start by saying that it's a programming paradigm or model based on the concepts of objects. So objects are like containers that hold both data and code, that is methods, together. These methods operate on the data within the object, making it easier to access and modify. In OOP, objects are created from classes, which acts as blueprints that define the structure and behavior of the objects. This helps organize code by linking data with procedures that operate on it, making programs more modular and easier to manage. Some common OOP languages include C++, Java, Python, and JavaScript. These languages allow you to model real-world entities as objects, providing a clear and efficient way to write complex applications. However, since Java uses 8 primitive data types, that is boolean, byte, char, int, float, long, short, and double, which are not objects, Java cannot be considered a 100% object-oriented language. These kinds of Java interview questions are common for freshers and will continue to be relevant in the interviews. So make sure that you grasp this object-oriented programming. Alright, so now let's move on to the third question, which is, what do you understand by aggregation in context of Java? So when you're asked to explain aggregation in an interview, you can describe it as a form of association where each object has its own life cycle, but there is an ownership relationship. The child object cannot belong to any other parent object. Aggregation helps in reusing code by creating a relationship between two classes, often described as a has-a or a whole-part relationship. One class contains a reference to another and it's said to have ownership of the class. So these kind of technical Java interview questions are designed to test your depth of knowledge, so avoid giving a purely bookish definition. Instead, mention how aggregation is useful for building more modular and maintainable systems. So this explanation keeps it short, practical, and close to the original idea of highlighting the key aspects of aggregation and how it applies to the real world scenarios. Alright, so this was about aggregation. Now let's move on to the fourth interview question, which is name the superclass in Java. So if you are asked about java.lang.object in an interview, you can explain that it's the root class for all the non-primitive types of Java. Every class in Java either directly or indirectly inherits from object, making it core part of the Java language. So the answer is object class. The class defines important methods like equals, hash code, and toString, which are universally used across the Java class hierarchy. By inheriting from object, all classes gain a common structure that supports interoperability, polymorphism, and object comparison. Instead, java.lang.object is essential because it underpins Java's inheritance model and abstraction. Mastery of its role is key to leverage the full power of Java object-oriented programming features. So this type of answer keeps it concise, emphasizing on the critical point of an interview while highlighting the importance of this java.lang.object in Java. Alright. Also, before we begin, I want you to have a look at Cloud Computing and DevOps program by IIIT Bangalore. It is an 8-month online program designed for working professionals aiming to advance their careers. Upon completion, you will earn a certification from IIIT Bangalore. So if you are interested in cloud and DevOps, then click the course link in the description. Now let's move on to the fifth question, which is explain the difference between finally and finalize in Java. Alright. So when you're asked about the difference between finally and finalize in an interview, you can explain it like this. So first of all, we'll start with the finally. So first we have is finally. So finally is used for exception handling, whereas finalize is used for protected method java.lang.object. Then the second is finally is used as a block and finalize is a method or function. Then the third point is it can be followed by try catch and without it, whereas finalize can be explicitly called from an application program. Finally is used to clean up the resources used in the try block, whereas finalize clean up the activities related to the object before the destruction. So to explain it more, the finally block is used in conjunction with the try catch block to ensure that a specific piece of code is always executed regardless of whether an exception occurs. It is typically used for cleanup operations like closing files or releasing resources. On the other hand, finalize is a special method in the object class. It can be overridden to clean up resources before an object destroyed by the garbage collector. Though it's rarely used in modern Java due to alternatives like try with resources. To handle these type of questions in interviews, make sure to have a clear understanding of exception handling and memory management in Java. Alright, so this was the fifth question. Now moving on to the sixth question, which is what is anonymous inner class? How is it different from an inner class? So when discussing anonymous inner class and inner class in an interview, you might explain it like this. An anonymous inner class is a local inner class without a name, so it cannot have a constructor. It either extends a class or implements an interface and is defined and instantiated in a single statement. It's often used to override methods and can only implement one interface at a time. An inner class is a non-static nested class associated with an instance of the outer class and has access to all the methods and variables. Some of the features of an anonymous class include: it is without any name, only one object is created for it, it is used to override a method of a class, it can implement only one interface at a time. Alright, so this was about anonymous inner class and inner class. Now moving on to the seventh question, which is what is a system class? So the system class is one of the core classes in Java and it's marked as final, which means you cannot extend or inherit from it. Since it doesn't provide any public constructors, you cannot instantiate it either. All of its methods and fields are static and it's mainly used to access system resources like standard input-output environment variables and properties. It's fundamental class, and understanding its role helps when working with system level operations in Java. So this type of explanation is concise, informative, and directly answers the questions, perfect for an interview setting. Alright, now this was about the system class. Now coming to the 8th Java interview question, which is how to create a daemon thread in Java. So when you are asked about the daemon thread in an interview, the interview wants to know if you understand how background threads work and how they affect program execution. Here's how you can explain it. So a daemon thread is a background thread in Java, typically used for tasks like garbage collection or logging. To create a daemon thread, you call set daemon true before invoking the start method. Otherwise, you will encounter an illegal thread state exception. Daemon threads are designed to provide support to non-daemon user threads. The key difference is that they don't prevent the program from exiting once all non-daemon threads finish. Daemon threads automatically terminate. These threads are useful for background tasks that don't include complete if the main program finishes, optimizing performance and resources utilization. By using daemon threads, developers can ensure that important auxiliary tasks are handled efficiently without blocking the termination of the main application. Alright, so this was about the daemon thread. Now coming to the question number 9, which is, does Java support global variables? Why and why not? So when you're asked whether Java supports global variables, the interviewer wants to test your understanding of Java variable scope and design principles. So to answer this type of question, you should start with saying no, Java doesn't support global variables. This is because global variables can lead to namespace collisions where multiple parts of a program might unintentionally use the same variable name, leading to conflicts. Additionally, global variables break referential transparency, which means functions or methods can become dependent on external states, making the program harder to debug and maintain. In Java, variables are typically scoped within class, methods, or blocks, ensuring better control over their use and prevention unintended side effects. This explanation addresses the reasoning behind why Java avoids global variables and demonstrates an understanding of scope and program design. So this was about the global variables. Now coming to the question number 10th, which is, how is an RMI object developed? So when you're asked about the steps to develop an RMI, that is remote method invocation, the interviewer wants to see if you understand how to create and deploy distributed applications in Java. So here's how you explain it. To develop an RMI object in Java, you need to follow a series of steps. So define the interface first. Create an interface that declares the methods available for remote invocation. Then implement the interface, that is provide the concrete implementation of the methods defined in the interface. Then there is compile the interface and implementation, which includes using the Java compiler to compile the interface and its implementation. Then compile several implementation with RMI compiler. So use RMI compiler to generate the necessary stub and skeleton classes. Then run the RMI registry, which is start the RMI registry to bind the remote objects for client access. Then there is run the application. So in run the application, you start the server and client applications to allow remote method calls. So these are the steps to develop RMI object in Java. So you can go through these steps, and by following these steps, developers can set up remote objects and enable communication between distributed systems using RMI. This response clearly explains the RMI development process, focusing on the steps and purpose of each, which is what the interviewer will be looking for in this type of questions. Alright, now coming to the question number 11, which is, explain the difference between slicing and preemptive scheduling. So when you are asked this type of questions about time slicing and preemptive scheduling, so here the interviewer is testing your understanding of thread scheduling. So to answer this type of question, you should start with, in time slicing, each task gets a fixed amount of time to execute. After its slice is over, it moves to ready queue and the next task runs. This method is used for non-priority scheduling where all tasks share CPU time equally. In preemptive scheduling, tasks are executed based on priority. The highest priority task runs until it completes or is preempted by an even higher priority tasks. This shows how the CPU manages threads in multithreading. Alright, so this was about the difference between time slicing and preemptive scheduling. Now coming to the question number 12. So the 12th interview question is, garbage collector thread is what kind of a thread? Alright. When an interviewer asks this question, you can assume that the interviewer is testing your understanding of memory management here. So here's how you can answer this question. So the garbage collector in Java is a daemon thread with low priority running in the background. It automatically manages memory by identifying unused objects, ensuring efficient resources utilizations. Since it's a daemon thread, it doesn't interfere with the main program execution, silently freeing up memory to maintain smooth application performance. So this thread is crucial for Java memory management, contributing to language efficiency and reliability. This version is concise, so it also focuses on the garbage collector role as a daemon thread and its importance in memory management. So by answering like this, you can definitely score good in interviews. Now the 13th interview question is, what is lifecycle of a thread in Java? So when you are asked about thread lifecycle in Java, the interview is checking your understanding of how thread progress through various states. Here's how you can explain it. So a thread in Java goes through several stages in the lifecycle. So first, new. The thread is created but hasn't started yet. Then runnable. The thread is ready to run but might not be executing yet. Then there is running. So the thread is actively executing. Then there is non-reliable or blocked. So the thread is alive but waiting for a resource or event. Then there is terminated. So the thread has finished executing. So this life cycle outlines how a thread moves through different states during execution. So this is how you can answer this type of question in Java interviews. So this was about this question. Now coming to the 14th interview question, which is, state the methods used during deserialization and serialization process. So when you are asked about object input stream dot read object and object output stream dot write object, the interviewer wants to access your understanding of Java serialization. So here's how you can answer. Object input stream dot read object. So this method reads from a file and deserializes the object, converting it from its byte stream back into a unusable object in Java. Second is object output stream dot write object. So this method serializes an object and writes it to a file, converting the object into a byte stream for storage. So these methods are crucial for saving and retrieving object states in Java. This type of answers provides a concise explanation of both methods and their roles in Java serialization. So this was about question number 14, that is the methods used during serialization and deserialization. Now coming to the question number 15, which is, what are volatile variables and what is their purpose? So when you're asked about volatile variables in a Java interview, so the interviewer is testing your understanding of memory visibility in multithreading. Here's how you can explain this type of a question. A volatile variable in Java ensures that its value is always read from the main memory, not from the thread's cache. This is crucial for synchronization because it guarantees visibility of changes across threads. The variable is declared with the volatile keyword and indicate that its value can be modified by external factors. So the key factors include, it's a field modifier, it improves thread performance by preventing caching. Then volatile variables cannot cause a thread to block while waiting, and they are not subject to compiler optimizations, ensuring consistent behavior across threads. So this ensures that threads always have the most up-to-date value of the variable. So this was about the volatile variables and their purpose. Now coming to the question number 16, which is, what are wrapper classes in Java? So when you're asked about wrapper classes in Java, the interviewer is accessing your knowledge of how primitives are converted into objects. So to answer this question, you should start with, in Java, every primitive data type has a corresponding wrapper class. These classes wrap a primitive value into an object, allowing primitives to be treated as objects. This is essential when working with frameworks or collections that require objects instead of primitives. So the key features here, wrapper classes convert primitives into objects and vice versa. Java provides autoboxing, that is automatic conversion from primitive to object, and unboxing to simplify these transformations. This allows seamless interaction between primitive and objects in Java, enhancing flexibility in coding. So this is how you can answer wrapper classes in Java. Alright, so this was about wrapper classes. Coming to question number 17, which is, how can we make a singleton class? So when you're asked about creating a singleton class in Java, the interviewer wants to access your understanding of design patterns. Here's how you can explain it. A singleton class ensures that only one instance of the class is ever created. To achieve this, the constructor is made private, preventing external instantiation. Other ways to enforce the singleton pattern include ensuring that only one instance of the class is created, declaring all constructors private to block object creation outside the class, then providing a static method that returns the single instance of the class. So this pattern is commonly used for managing shared resources in an application. So this type of explanation is brief, focusing on the key aspects of creating and enforcing a singleton class in Java. So this is how you can answer it. Now coming to the question number 18. So what are the most important methods of exception class in Java? So when you're asked about common methods in throwable class in Java, the interviewer wants to see if you understand how exceptions work. So to answer these questions, you can start with like Java's throwable class provides several key methods for handling exceptions and errors. Some of the important methods include string get message. So this method returns a detailed message about the exception. Then there is toString method. So this method returns a string representation of the exception. Then print stack trace. So this method prints the stack trace of the exception to the console. Then synchronize throwable get cause. So this method returns the cause of exception. Then there is stack trace element get stack trace. So this method returns an array representing the stack trace of the exception. So these methods are essential for debugging and understanding the nature of exception. This explanation is concise and covers the primary methods in throwable class, highlighting their importance in exception handling. So question number 19 is, how can we make a thread in Java? So when you're asked about creating a thread in Java, the interviewer is checking your knowledge of multi-threading. So here's how you can answer the interview. So you can start with, there are two main ways to create a thread in Java. By extending the thread class. So this involves creating a new class that extends thread. However, the downside is that since Java doesn't support multiple inheritance, extending thread prevents you from extending any other class. Second is by implementing the runnable interface. So this is more flexible approach as it allows your class to implement other interfaces or extend other classes. You define the run method and pass an instance to a thread object. So the thread class provides helpful methods and the constructors to manage thread operations, making it easier to start and manage threads. This explanation is concise and covering both approaches and highlighting the flexibility of implementing the runnable interface. So this is how you can answer the question of the interviewer. Alright. Now coming to the question number 20. Explain the differences between get and load methods. So when you're asked about the differences between get and load in an interview, the interviewer wants to see if you understand how object retrieval works in Hibernate. So here's how you can explain it. So the get and load methods in Hibernate are used to retrieve objects, but they behave differently. Get method returns null if object isn't found, whereas load method throws an object not found exception. So the get method always returns a real object, while load method returns a proxy object, which is a placeholder for lazy initialization. So the get and load methods in Hibernate are used to retrieve objects, but they behave differently. So get method returns null if object isn't found, whereas load method throws an object not found exception. Get method always returns a real object, while the load method returns a proxy object, which is a placeholder for lazy initialization. So the get method initially hits the database, but load method may delay the database hit until the object is accessed. If the object exists and load method, if you're certain the instance exists in the database. So this explanation highlights the key differences in how these methods operate and when to use each. Alright, now coming to the question number 21, which is, what is the default value of the local variable? So when you're asked about local variables in Java, here the interviewer wants to know if you understand the initialization behavior. So to answer this question, you should start with, in Java, local variables declared inside methods don't automatically get a default value. unlike instance variables which gets values like 0 for numbers or null for objects. Local variables must be explicitly assigned a value before use. Both primitive types like int and object references like string follow this rule. If you try to use a local variable without assigning it a value, the compiler will throw an error. So this answer ensures that the local variables are always properly initialized within the method or block where they are used. So when you are asked this question, you have to elaborate it in a way. This was about default value of local variable. Now coming to the question number 22, which is define the class that remains superclass for each class. So this is the other way of asking this question. So if an interview asks define the class that remains the superclass for each class, they are testing your understanding of Java's inheritance hierarchy. A good way to respond is, the object class is the superclass for all classes in Java. Every class either directly or indirectly inherits from it. It provides essential methods like equals, hash code, toString and clone, which can be used or overridden by any class. So the answer is the object class. This is a different way of asking this questions. I know that we have previously covered this question, but that question was in a different way. So the interviewer doesn't ask you question in a single way. He or she can ask you questions in a different approach. Now this was about question number 22. Coming to the question number 23, which is what is the static method? So when you're asked about static methods in Java, the interviewer wants to check your understanding of their behavior and usage. So how can you explain it? To explain it, you should start with a static method in Java belongs to the class itself, not to any specific object. This means you can call it directly using the class name without having to create an instance of the class. Since static methods are tied to the class, they can access and modify static variables which are also class level, that is not tied to individual objects. So the main advantage of static methods is their ability to work with static data members, which makes them efficient for tasks that involve class-wide data and don't need to interact with instance-specific details. So this type of response is concise and clearly explains the nature and use of static methods in Java. Now coming to the question number 24, which is what is exception handling? So when you're asked about exception handling in Java, the interviewer is testing your understanding of how Java manages runtime errors. So to explain this answer, start with exception handling in Java is a way for the program to manage errors that happen during runtime. It helps the program deal with these errors smoothly without crashing. When an exception occurs, Java allows you to catch and handle it, ensuring that the programs can continue running or gracefully recover from the issue. So this mechanism is useful for maintaining the normal flow of the program, even when unexpected events like invalid input or missing files cause errors during execution. So some of the key components of exception handling you can again explain further, like first is try. So try block defines a block of code where each exceptions may occur. Then there is catch block. So this block catches and handles the exception. Then there is finally. So this executes code after try catch regardless of whether an exception occurred, often used for cleanup tasks. Then there is throw. It is used to manually throw an exception. Then there is throws. So throws is basically declares that a method may throw exception. So by using these mechanisms, Java ensures that errors are handled gracefully and the program can recover or terminate safely. So if you answer in this way, the interviewer will be impressed, and I believe this is the way you can answer this question. Alright, coming to the question number 25, which is in simple terms, how would you define Java? When you're asked this question, the interviewer wants to access your understanding of its key features and background. So to answer this, you should start with Java is a high-level platform independent object-oriented programming language known for its write once, run anywhere, that is WORA feature. This means that code written in Java can run on any platform without needing modification. It enables developers to create robust application websites and complex programs with strong performance and cross-platform compatibility. So Java was created by James Gosling in 1991 and has become a core technology in the IT industry. It is widely used to build versatile and powerful applications that work across different systems and environments. So yeah, this is how you can explain Java in simple terms. emphasizing on its working and its history also. So yeah, this is how you can proceed with these questions. Now coming to the question number 26, which is what is Java string pool? So when you're asked about the string pool in Java, the goal is to access your understanding of memory management and how strings are handled. Alright, so to answer this question, you can start with the string pool is special area in the Java heap where string literals are stored. Since strings in Java are immutable, meaning they cannot be changed once created, this allows the string pool to store unique string values. This process is known as string interning, where identical string literals share the same memory space, helping to optimize memory use. When you create strings with double quotes, they utilize the string pool. However, when using the new keyword, a new string object is created outside the pool. So this is how you can answer this question. Now coming to question number 27, which is how would you define the meaning of collections in Java? So when an interviewer asks you these questions, he or she wants to access your understanding of how Java handle groups of objects. So to explain this answer, you should start with collections in Java are a framework that allows you to group multiple objects into a single unit, making data storage and management easier. The collection framework provides a consistent structure for working with different types of objects, enabling operations like sorting, searching, adding, removing, and manipulating data. So it basically simplifies how developers handle groups of objects by offering ready-made interfaces and classes, ensuring more efficient and organized data management across various types of collections such as maps, sets, lists, etc. So that includes sorting, searching, manipulation, deletion, etc. And Java collections simplify data handling, offering a flexible and efficient way to manage groups of objects. So this is the way you can answer the question. So you can also elaborate as I did. So this will reflect that you deeply understand this topic. Alright. Now coming to question number 28, which is explain the OOPS concept in Java. When you're asked about OOPS, that is object-oriented programming concept in Java, the interviewer is testing your understanding of the foundation principles in Java. So we have already discussed Java OOPS, what is it? And now here in this question, if you have asked this question by the interviewer, then you can start with Java OOP concepts includes abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance and encapsulations are the core principles that help developers build reusable and secure code. So to explain these, you should start with one of these, like let's say abstraction. So abstraction hides the internal details while exposing the essential functionality to the user. Then polymorphisms. Polymorphism allow objects to behave differently in different situations with both runtime and compile time forms. Then there is inheritance. So inheritance lets a subclass acquire properties and behaviors from a superclass, promoting code reuse. Then there is encapsulation. Encapsulation wraps code and data together using access modifier to control visibility and enhance security. So these OOP principles enable efficient and maintainable application development in Java. So this was about the OOPS concept. You can answer each one of these concepts one by one. Alright, so this was about the OOPS concept. Now coming to question number 29, which is explain the two different types of typecasting. So when an interviewer asks about the two types of typecasting, they are testing your understanding of how data types are converted into Java. So there are two types of typecasting in Java. One is implicit typecasting. This is automatically done by the compiler when converting a smaller data type to a larger. For example, int to long. It's safe and doesn't result in data loss. Second one is explicit typecasting. So this is manually done by the programmer when converting a larger data type to a smaller one, example double to int. It can lead to data loss if the value doesn't fit in the smaller type. Alright, so these were the two types of typecastings. This was question number 29. Now moving on to the next question, which is question number 30. So what is meant by abstract class? When you're asked about abstract class in Java, the interviewer is testing your understanding of abstraction and design principles. Here's how you can explain it. An abstract class in Java is defined using the abstract keyword and can contain both abstract and non-abstract methods. Abstract classes provide a way to define common behavior while leaving some implementation details to be specified by the subclass. So the key benefits are reducing complexity by focusing only on essential details, enhancing security by controlling that details are exposed to users, avoiding code duplication, increasing code usability by allowing common methods, changing internal implementation without affecting how the class is used externally. So these are the key benefits of abstract classes that you can answer, and you can also define abstract classes as I did. So moving on to the question number 31, explain the difference between abstraction and encapsulation in Java. So this is one of the most common questions that are being asked in the Java interview questions. So keep in mind, because these type of the questions are mostly asked, all right, if you are giving a Java interview. So when you're asked to explain the difference between abstraction and encapsulation in Java, the interviewer is checking your understanding of the two core OOP principles. So people often get confused in both of these. So first one is abstraction. So abstraction focuses on hiding complexity by showing only the necessary details and functionality to the user, whereas encapsulation focuses on hiding data by bundling it into a single unit and controlling access. Then there is abstraction. So abstraction deals with design level by using interface and abstract class to define what an object should do. Then encapsulation. Encapsulation deals with implementation level by using access modifiers, private, public, protected, to restrict access to objects data. Then abstraction. Abstraction helps to define what an object does without exposing how it performs those operations. Encapsulation ensures that the internal state of an object is protected and managed safely through getters and setters. So the abstraction example is using an interface to define a method without revealing the internal implementation. And the example of encapsulation is using private variables in a class and providing public getter and setter methods to access them. So these were the differences between abstraction and encapsulation in Java. So now the next question is a programming question that is being asked in the Java interview questions. So the question is, write a Java program to write Fibonacci series using recursion. So interviewer can ask you this question and then you'll have to write down the program and also explain it. So if the interviewer asks you to write a program in Java to print Fibonacci series using recursion, so this is how you do it. So this is the program, and let me explain to you guys what it is and how it is working. With the help of recursion, we have to print Fibonacci numbers. So I hope you guys understand what is Fibonacci numbers. For those who don't, let me explain. Fibonacci numbers are the sequence of numbers where each number is the sum of the two numbers before it. It starts with 0 and 1. So the first two numbers are 0 and 1. To get the next number, you add the two previous numbers, like 0 plus 1 equals to 1. Then add the last two numbers, that is 1 plus 1 equals to 2. And keep doing that, like 1 plus 2 equals to 3, 2 plus 3 equals to 5, 3 plus 5 equals to 8, and so on. So the Fibonacci sequence looks like this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, like that. So basically this is the pattern, as you can see on the screen, the output. So this is how Fibonacci series looks like. Alright, now coming back to the code. So what we are doing here basically. So as you can see, this is a method. Alright, you can say this is a method, or you can say it is a function as well. Alright, so this method is named Fibonacci, and its job is to calculate a specific number in the Fibonacci sequence based on the position you give it. Alright, so when you give this function a number, let's call it n, it checks. So if n is 0 or 1, here we are giving it. So it checks if n is 0 or 1, it simply returns n. For example, if you ask for the Fibonacci numbers at position 0, it gives you 0, and for the position 1, it gives you 1, as you can see. Alright, these two. Alright, now if n is greater than 1, it doesn't directly know the answer. Instead, it recursively breaks the problem into smaller pieces by calling itself twice. Once with n minus 1 and once with n minus 2. This keeps happening until it reaches the simpler cases when n is 0 or 1. Then it adds them up to give the answer. So this is the working. For example, as we can see, to find the fifth Fibonacci number, let's say, it figures out Fibonacci 5 equals to Fibonacci 4 plus Fibonacci 3. Then it further breaks down those down further, like Fibonacci 4 equals to Fibonacci 3 plus 2, and so on. Then until it reaches Fibonacci 1 and Fibonacci 0, which it knows are 1 and 0 respectively, it then adds everything up. Alright, so this is how it is going. Then as we can see, the main part of the program, this is the main function you can say. The program has a main section where the actual action happens. So in this part, it defines that we want the first 10 numbers in the Fibonacci series by setting terms equals to 10. It uses a loop to go through numbers from 0 to 9 because computer starts counting from 0, and prints the Fibonacci numbers for each position. So this program basically uses a special technique called recursion to calculate the Fibonacci series. It prints the first 10 numbers in the series where each number is the sum of the 2 before it. So this is how you can explain this Fibonacci series with the help of recursion. Alright, now let's get back to question number 33. Alright, so now question number 33 is, what is garbage collection in Java? So here the interviewer is asking you what is garbage collection in Java, and the interviewer wants to access your understanding of how Java manages the memory. Now to explain this answer, you can start with, in Java, objects are allocated in memory dynamically using the new operator. The deallocation of memory is managed automatically by the garbage collection process. When an object is no longer referenced or needed, the garbage collector frees up the memory it was using. So this ensures that the unused objects don't take up space without requiring manual memory management from the programmer. So the primary goal of garbage collection is to improve memory efficiency by removing unused objects and optimizing memory management so that program runs smoothly without wasting resources. So garbage collection in Java simplifies memory management by keeping the system free from unnecessary objects, ensuring that only active objects consume the memory. So this is a very simple way of explaining the garbage collection in Java. So this was about garbage collection. Now coming to question number 34, which is, why is Java considered platform independent? So when you are asked why Java is considered platform independent, the interviewer is testing your understanding of how Java programs run across different operating systems. So to explain it, you can start with, Java is a platform independent because of the Java virtual machine, that is JVM. When a Java program is compiled, it is converted into bytecode, which is a platform neutral and doesn't depend on any specific operating system. The JVM then interprets this bytecode and runs it on any system, whether it's Windows, Linux or Mac. So this design supports Java philosophy of write once, run anywhere, meaning that Java programs can be written once and executed on any platform that has JVM without needing to recompile the code. Alright. So this explanation highlights how Java achieves platform independence through bytecode and the JVM. So this is how you can answer this question. Yeah, this was about platform independence. Now coming to the question number 35, which is, write a Java program to reverse a string. So here the interviewer is asking you to write a program to reverse a string. It is a very simple program and I hope everybody can do that. Alright. So now to explain you guys, first of all, in this program, you can have a look. Here is the output first. So here what we are doing is we are asking them to put the input and then we are basically reversing the string. Alright, as you can see, the scanner class is there, and then we are taking the string, we are printing the message, enter a string, and then the string is entered, and then we are reversing it. Alright, so how we are doing it? So it's up to you. It can be done in n number of ways, but the way that we have done here, I'm going to explain you that. So here we have initialized an empty string, reverse string, as we can see. We have initialized this to store the reversed result basically. So a for loop runs from the last character, that is input string dot length -1, to the first character, that is I greater than equal to 0, and we keep adding each character to reversed string. So we know how to reverse a string, it's a bit easy. So this is the last character basically. So -1 because of the index thing, that is why we have used -1. From the last character to the first character, we are using the for loop and we are decrementing it. So one by one, basically we are reversing the whole string, and not only we are reversing it, but also we are storing it in the reverse string, as we can see. So this basically means reverse string equals to reverse string plus input string dot char at I. So it is adding the sum into this, and when we'll display this, it will give us this output, that is the reverse string. Alright, I hope you guys understand. You can do it in your own way also, but this is the way that we have done over here, and this is the question that is being asked in the interviews. Alright, so question number 36 is, explain the use of this keyword in Java. So when you're asked about this keyword in Java, the interviewer is testing your understanding of how Java handles object references. Here's how you can explain it. So in Java, the this keyword refers to current object of the class. It helps the program understand that you're talking about the current object's variables or methods. This is especially useful when a method's parameters has the same name as the class instance variable. So this makes it clear you are referring to the object's variable. You can also use this to pass the current object to other methods or constructors. And you can return this keyword from a method to refer to the current object. So in short, this keyword helps ensure that the program correctly uses the current object inside its class. Alright, so this was about the this keyword in Java. Now let's move on to the question number 37, which is explain the meaning of inheritance in Java. So when you're asked about inheritance in Java, the interviewer is checking your understanding of one of the core OOP principles. So here's how you can explain it. So in Java, inheritance is a mechanism where one class, known as the subclass, inherits properties and methods from another class, called the superclass. So this allows the subclass to reuse and extend the functionality of the superclass, or you can say the parent class. Now, the key points about inheritance include, it lets you create new classes from existing ones. The subclass acquires all the properties and methods of the superclass. You can add new methods and fields to the subclass. And inheritance also allows for method overriding, where a subclass provides its own implementation of a method in the superclass. So inheritance is a powerful tool in Java, making code reusable and more maintainable. So this was about inheritance in Java. Inheritance is one of the most important concepts that is being asked in interviews, so make sure that you understand it correctly. Alright, now coming to the question number 38, which is explain the meaning of interface. So when you're asked about interface in Java, the interviewer is evaluating your knowledge of how Java manages multiple inheritance and abstraction. So in Java, multiple inheritance isn't possible with classes, but interfaces solve this issue. An interface allows a class to implement multiple behaviors, providing a form of abstraction and loose coupling between modules. With the recent Java updates, interfaces can now have a default static and private methods, giving them more flexibility. So the key benefits of interfaces include, they define behaviors that an object must implement. They act as a contact between the object and its code, ensuring consistency. Interfaces make it easier to modify implementations without affecting the overall system. They serve as connection points between different modules in a system. So these were the benefits of interfaces, and we also explained the meaning of interface. So this was about interface. Now let's move on to the question number 39, which is explain the meaning of local variable and instance variable. So if the interviewer asks you about local and instance variables, they will likely want to test your understanding of variable scope and the lifecycle in Java. So a local variable is defined within a method constructor or block, and its scope is restricted to that specific method or block. Once the method finishes executing, the local variable is no longer accessible. These variables are not part of the object state and cannot be used outside the defined block. An instance variable, on the other hand, is declared inside the class but outside of any method. Its scope extends across the entire class and is associated with an instance of the class. Each object of the class has its own copy of instance variables, and these variables represent the object's state. They are accessible as long as the object exists, and their values can vary between different instances of the same class. So this was the meaning of a local variable and the instance variable. Now let's move on to the question number 40, which is what is a servlet? So when you're asked about servlets in Java, the interviewer is testing your knowledge of Java's web technologies and how they handle web requests. So here's how you can answer it. So servlets are Java components that extend the capabilities of a web server. They run on Java-powered web application servers and are designed to handle complex web requests. Servlets provide benefits like high performance, scalability, portability, and security, making them a core part of building Java web applications. So here's how the servlet processes. So a user sends a request from the web browser. The web server receives the request and forwards it to the appropriate servlet. The servlet processes the request and generates a response. The servlet sends the response back to the web server. The web server then delivers the response to the browser, which displays the result to the user. So this is how it goes. Servlets rely on multiple classes and interfaces such as generic servlet, HTTP servlet, servlet request and servlet response, allowing them to interact with web requests and responses efficiently. So this was about servlets. Now coming to question number 41, which is what is the exception? So when you are asked about exceptions in Java, the interviewer is accessing your understanding of error handling. So exceptions are one of the most important concepts that are being asked in interviews. So you need to have a solid understanding of it. So when an interviewer asks these questions, here's how you can explain it. An exception in Java refers to an unusual condition or event that occurs during the execution of a program, often due to incorrect user input or programming errors or other unforeseen issues. So when an exception occurs, it disrupts the normal flow of the program. So there are two main types of exceptions in Java. One is checked exceptions, other one is unchecked exceptions. So the first one, that is the checked exceptions. So these are checked at compile time and must be either caught or declared in the method signature. Second is unchecked exceptions. So these occurs at the runtime and are typically due to logical errors that are not caught by the compiler. So Java's exception handling mechanisms helps maintain the stability of the program by providing ways to catch and handle these exceptions, preventing crashes. So this is how exception helps. So this was about exception. Now coming to the next question, which is question number 42, that is what are the difference between constructors and methods? So there are various key differences between these both. Let's start with the first, function. So constructor initializes an object when it's created. For example, in a car class, the constructor sets the car's make, model and year. So method performs specific task after the object is created, like start engine in the car class. Second is invocation. So basically constructor automatically invoked when using the new keyword to create an object, whereas method must be explicitly called like car.startEngine. Third one is execution. So constructor runs only once when the object is created, whereas method can be called multiple times during the object's lifetime. Constructor must have the same name as the class, that is car in the car class, whereas method can have any name that follows standard naming conventions. That is, you can say simply start engine, stop engine, like that. Fifth one is return type. Constructor has no return type, method must have a return type that can be void, int, etc. So these were the differences between constructors and methods. I hope you guys understand these. So make sure to understand these differences as it is also being asked very often in the Java interview questions. Now let's move on to question number 43, which is what are the key features of exception handling? So this is another question about exception handling. So when this type of question is being asked to you, here's how you can explain it. So the key features of exception handling include responding to unexpected events that occur while the program runs. So second feature is preventing system crashes by properly managing exceptions. And the third one is Java provides different ways to handle exceptions such as throwing, catching and handling them using try, catch and throw blocks. So these were the features that you can mention while answering this type of questions in Java interview. Alright, so these were the features. Now coming to the next question, which is what is the main difference between the notify and notifyAll method in Java? So if an interviewer asks about the difference between these two, so they are likely testing your understanding of thread synchronization. So to answer this, you can start with the notify method. So the notify method wakes up one randomly chosen thread from the waiting pool, while the notifyAll wakes up all threads that are waiting. In notify, only one thread will proceed, leaving the rest in the waiting state. With notifyAll, all waiting threads are awakened, but only one will eventually get the lock and others will continue waiting for their turn. As simple as that. So by this way, you can simply, make the interviewer understand about it. Alright, question number 45. So which are the different lists available in the collection? So when you're asked about list available in Java collection framework, the interviewer is testing your understanding of how Java handles the collection of objects. Alright. So to answer this, you can start with Java's collection framework provides various types of lists to store and manage ordered collections of objects. Some of the main list implementations include, first one is array list. So array list is a resizable array that allows fast random access to elements. It is most commonly used due to its flexibility. Second one is linked list, a doubly linked list where each element is linked to its neighbors. It's efficient for insertions and deletions. Third one is vectors. So vector similar to array list but synchronized, meaning it is thread safe. Fourth one is stack. A stack is a subclass of vector. It implements a last in first out, that is LIFO stack of elements. So this is how you can explain the collections, Java collection framework. So these lists basically provide different ways to manage and organize collections based on the needs, whether to require fast access or efficient insertion and deletion. So these were the methods that you can tell. Alright. Now coming to the next question, which is question number 46. Explain the priority queue. So when you're asked this question, the interviewer is testing your understanding of how queues handle elements based on the priority. So a priority queue in Java extends the queue interface and allows elements to be processed based on their priority rather than just following the first in first out rule. You can customize the priority using the comparator or rely on the natural ordering of elements. So the key feature of priority includes, it helps in managing multiple tasks based on priority, especially in networking systems. It typically uses a heap data structure to contain the priority order efficiently. It is useful when tasks or elements need to be processed based on the relative importance. So these were the key features of it. Alright, so this was about priority queue. Now moving on to the next question, which is question number 47. So what is multithreading? When you're asked about multithreading in Java, the interviewer is accessing your knowledge of concurrent execution in Java programs. To answer this, you can start by saying, multithreading in Java allows programs to run multiple threads simultaneously, enabling it to perform several tasks at once. Threads are lightweight and share the same memory space, making the program more efficient with better performance and lower memory usage. Some of the key features of multithreading include, it creates lightweight processes, multiple threads can run simultaneously, saving time and improving efficiency. Then, since threads are independent, if one thread is blocked or busy, it doesn't stop other threads from executing. So these were the features of multithreading. Now coming to the next question, which is question number 48. Can we force garbage collection? So when you're asked if we can force garbage collection in Java, the interviewer is trying to test your understanding of Java's memory management. So the answer is no. Garbage collection in Java is an automatic process handled by JVM. While you can request garbage collection by calling system.gc or runtime.gc, you cannot force it to happen. The JVM will decide when to perform garbage collection, and there's no guarantee that calling these methods will immediately trigger it. Alright, simple as that. Now coming to question number 49, which is the second last question. Explain the meaning of object in Java. It is one of the most important questions. So if an interviewer asks about the meaning of object in Java, they are likely testing your understanding of fundamental building block of Java, which is related to Java OOPS concept. So here's how you can explain it. An object in Java is an instance of a class representing real-world entities with specific state and behavior. For example, a dog object might have states like name, breed, and color, and behaviors like barking or wagging its tail. In Java, an object is created using the new keyword, which initializes the object. Each object has its own identity, state, and behavior. Alright. So simply like this, you can answer this question. It is one of the most important questions that are being asked in the Java interviews. Now moving on to the next question, which is the last question, that is question number 50. Explain the importance of finally block. So when you're asked about the finally block in Java, the interviewer is accessing your understanding of exception handling. So as we know that there are various questions regarding exception handling, so it's a very important topic basically. So to answer this question, you can start with, the finally block is crucial in Java because it always executes whether an exception is handled or not. It comes after the try or catch block and ensures that important code such as closing files or releasing resources is always on the run. In the JVM, the finally block is executed just before the program terminates or a file is closed. Some of the key points about finally block is, it is used to run important code, example closing files, resource deallocation, etc. It always runs regardless of whether an exception was caught or not. There can only be one finally block for each try block, and it ensures cleanup operations are performed in the program. So these were some of the key points of finally block that you should keep in mind. So we notice there are many questions regarding exception handling. So make sure you prepare for exception handling, which is an important topic and it should be on your tips. If you want to master data structures and algorithms and develop problem solving skills for technical interviews, then this data structures and algorithm free course by Upgrade is perfect for you. Dive into key topics like time complexity, fundamental data structures like arrays, queues, stacks, and essential algorithms like sorting and searching. The best part, this course is completely free. Gain knowledge, sharpen your skills, and invest in your future at no cost. Plus, upon completion of all the modules, you will receive a certificate of completion to showcase your achievement. So don't wait, enroll this free course today and take the first step towards mastering DSA. And that's wrap up on our list of top Java interview questions. We hope this guide has helped you gain a better understanding of what to expect and how to prepare for your next interview. Remember, practice makes you perfect, so keep owning your Java skills and reviewing these key concepts. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.